thanks to both of you for joining us. This is a special year for Sigmobile, right? So it's the 25th year that we are celebrating. So Rajalakshmi and I thought it would be great to hear from long-standing members in the community. So yeah, maybe we can start first with what both of you individually think about like Sigmobile and MobiSys. What does it represent to you?
Sure, I can go first. So to me, MobiSys is it's a great community above all else. I've made, I think, lifelong friends through attending MobiSys, and that's the thing that I look forward to more than anything else. I mean, the papers are great and the technical content is stimulating, but to me, every time I go to MobiSys, it feels like a reunion where I'm just seeing old friends. And above all else, that's what I love about MobiSys. I was thinking about like my initial MobiSys experiences. And it just made me think of people like Carla Ellis and Gaetano and Dave Coates and Satya and the whole MSR contingent, and just how welcoming they were of me and supportive of the work I was doing very, very early in my career. And I made a change because I didn't do mobile stuff in grad school. And I kind of decided as a junior faculty member, that was what I wanted to work on. And they were just so supportive. And I just felt very much at home from the very beginning.
I agree with Landon said about MobiSys. I think I want to add that I think I grew up in MobiSys community. I think you could see now I'm growing older with MobiSys as well. My first MobiSys was 2005. That's also first time I had a paper. So actually Mark Horner was my paper shaper. I remember that. So Mark basically contacted to say, hey, I'm your shaper, congrats, and do the paper. I sent him the drafts. I sent all the revision with common address. And he basically replied to me emails, hey, you're not writing a fiction, right? It said you should put your point things up front. You should not save the surprise to the end, right? So I was like, oh wow, that's an important tip that I end up rewriting much of the introduction based on his feedback. So that's kind of working on the camera ready for my MobiSys 2005 paper gave me kind of preview of the MobiSys community, that how helpful, how constructive people there are.
I don't know if this will be controversial, but I sometimes I think MobiSys is a little bit of has this like an underdog's mentality in the best possible way, in the sense that, there are this sort of super established conferences, at least in systems, SIGCOMM, SOSP, ISCA, right? And MobiSys is more specialized. And so I think there's this sense like, we have to band together. We have to be supportive of one another. We're a little bit of an outsider. And that I certainly felt that initially. And I think that's one of the best things about MobiSys is it still feels a little bit like an outsiders conference. Of course, it's now much bigger and much broader, and maybe it doesn't deserve to think of itself in that way. But I think the outsiders spirit is still very strong in the conference.
I think that's a great segue to the next question. So you said that it still feels like a little bit of an outsider conference, right? But then how do you think that MobiSys has evolved over the years?
Well, my take on it is sensing is a much bigger part of the conference now than it used to be. And that's because of smartphones. And I was thinking about this, like, when Lin and I started going to MobiSys, smartphones either didn't exist or they were nascent and they were brand new.
Windows Mobile.
What's that?
We had Windows Mobile, Pocket PC.
Or these crappy Nokia devices, right? Like trying to do stuff. And I was complaining to somebody the other day how awful it was to program Symbian. And just, I remember there was this project from UW in the mid 2000s where they finally got a Python interpreter to run on Symbian. And my first MobiSys paper actually used it, and it was amazing. You could actually just write Python instead of using whatever horrendous Symbian APIs you had to deal with. So I think to your question, smartphones and the evolution of smartphones from this sort of niche thing to this massive industry and the center of almost all computing has affected MobiSys in a lot of different ways. On the flip side, I feel like there's less like operating systems type of work that's done at MobiSys now, because the smartphone platforms, and they're not closed, but they're fully formed and fully funded, and there's much less experimentation. So that's when I was thinking about like how it's evolved. I think that's the one that stands out the most to me.
Right. I think that's a very insightful observation. Right. I think at the early days, because there's no iPhone, Android, iOS, right? Right. 25 years ago, only a small number of groups can do the type of MobiSys work. Because not many groups can hack into the kernels, build hardware prototypes, right? But today, everybody can get a smartphone, get Android, and you can do something creative mobile devices.
Do you folks have any messages for the attendees this year that you want to convey? This is like wholly virtual experience, but anything you want to tell them?
Yeah, so this actually, this comes out of my thinking about what makes MobiSys so special, and this idea that's, it's a little bit of an underdog conference and very supportive. And so my message is find other researchers to advocate for and to support, and find work that you want to support, because that's part of the lifeblood of the conference. In particular, I know, I think back, and people like Satya and Gaetano and Dave Coates were so supportive of my work early on, and I've tried to carry that on. And so I think that's a really important part of this conference. So that's my message. Find the work that you think is great, support the people who are doing it, and raise the visibility of that work and tell everybody how awesome it is.
Thanks.
Right. I want to add to that. I believe this year there will be poster demo sessions too, virtually, right? I think in most cases, it will be presented by students, right? So they will be there showing off their work. I think the important part is I encourage everybody to go to their poster or demo sessions, just watch it, because every student, every presenter put a lot of energy into preparing the demo, preparing the poster, show up, ask questions, and offer compliment, encouragement as you can, because research endeavor is sometimes it's very taxing endeavor, right? I think the students, they need a dose of praise. Even it's very small, coming from someone they don't know. But if it comes in a genuine way, people take seriously, and it goes a long way to help them, keep them in the run and keep them going. That's number one. Number two, I think maybe it's for junior people, right? I think Landon said something is about senior people. We should go champion, support the research we believe in. I think for junior folks, I think try to seek out your champion, seek out your fans, right? Try to feel free to advertise your work. Tell everybody about your work, right? Your work is great. I think, but it's make sure everybody knows your work,